Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we are back on with the standard hi-fi record player. And if you remember in the last video, we actually got this thing playing, but it seemed to be playing too fast. And it's basically what I've done, and Andy over on Vintage Electronics Repair basically come to exactly the same conclusion as me. The motor that I salvaged for this project out of another scrap player, basically what has happened is the platter on the deck that I salvaged the motor on is actually slightly larger than this. It's not much larger, it's just a tiny little bit larger, which means it has a different spindle pulley, which is this bit here, is actually slightly different. It's very, very slightly wider than would have normally be used on this player. Now fortunately I had to sort through all my junk, and I've managed to find a spindle motor, well, a spindle out of a motor from the smaller platter, the same size as this. It's an earlier BSR deck, one of the cheap, nasty, horrible ones, rather than this Monarch. But this should hopefully get the player to play at the correct speed. So I'll just quickly play it with the. We'll use the womble, seeing quite a few people seem to be familiar with this. And like I said, we'll play it at the speed with this spindle motor that's fitted, which is the incorrect one. We'll then rebuild the player with this spindle here, and we'll see whether it then plays at the correct speed, which hopefully it should do. So let's get this playing now. Incidentally, I've got this currently fitted with a modern cartridge, because I've just been playing about with cartridges, seeing if I can get a modern one to play okay on this. It's not right yet, but it'll do for testing. Like I said, I've still got that buzz which I've got to get rid of, but we'll look at that in a different video. Let's just play the that's on 33, let's go up to 45. Okay, so there we go, we can hear it's how that plays there. Stop that, let's unplug it. We'll secure the head shell. We'll take that record off. Take the platter off. And we will drop the motor out. Right, now where's what screwdriver? Yeah, that should get me. So the motor does have to come out again to do this, unfortunately, but you find that a lot when you're working on these old record players, that you do end up putting them back together, taking them apart, putting them back together, taking them apart, until you get everything absolutely spot on. You never really get it right first time. Even like I said, I've been doing these for years. Oops, excuse me, and I still find myself making mistakes and having to take things apart and then putting them back together, and taking them apart and putting them back together. It's just part of the fun of working on this old stuff, really. I'll put that out of the way. Oops, and we've got the motor out here. We're nice and safe because we're unplugged. And what we need to do is we need to take that off and swap that for that. Now, you probably won't be able to see this, but I can actually see that spindle there. You know, compare the 16 with the 16 that's on there. It is just a tiny little bit smaller. And it's another reason why I really need to see if I can get hold of a small engineering lathe, because these larger BSR motors with the larger spindle are a lot more common. So it'd be really nice to be able to turn one down on a lathe to the right size. So I did used to have access to a small lathe, but unfortunately, like I say, I don't anymore. So I can use one. I could be, if I had access to one, I would be able to do that, but that's one of these things. I keep looking out for them, but they seem to sell for £300 plus, which I just really can't justify for something I'd use literally every now and again. Right, let's take that out. Obviously this won't get thrown away because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It'll just go in the get rebuilt up into the motor I took that out of, and it'll get kept as a spare. So obviously nothing will happen with that. I'm doing it that way rather than swapping the motors because it means that I don't have to mess about redoing all the wiring, which I've actually got quite nice and neat, and I don't want to disturb it again. So it's easier just to swap the spindle over. So that's in there. We just need to rebuild that. Now, which way around does that go? It's that side there that needs the shaft on it. Put that on there. I don't know if you can hear that coming down, but the rain's decided to make an appearance tonight. Okay, that's that one in. Make sure that that's spinning nice and smooth. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's running okay, so we can put this back in the deck. First one in. That's another one. Last one. So then we'll reassemble this and we'll give it another play. And hopefully it should play then at the right speed. There we go. Put that back down like that. Put the platter back on. Let's plug it back in. And get our Wombles rack on again. See, it's turning nicely there. There we go, that sounds much better now. That's playing at the right speed.
Things that we find, things that the everyday folks leave behind. Uncle Bulgaria, we can remember the days when we wasn't behind the time. When it's map of the world, we saw the papers and
better not play it. I'll just play it at the end, see if it stops like it should do. Hopefully it'll get to the end now and it should automatically shut off. It doesn't look like it's auto shutting off, but at least it's getting to the end of the record. Oops. It doesn't always work with every record, the auto shut off. Sometimes these grooves in these, especially the cheaper records, and we haven't actually set the weight on the head shell yet. That might be actually a little bit light. We'll play one last thing before we finish this video. Like I said, this is like a little bit of an interim video just to show that I've actually sorted out the speed issue. Let's play a 33 on it and see what this sounds like. What have we got on here? I think there's nothing on here which would not get me a copyright strike. Let's 33. We'll just play a little bit of this, like I said, because I'm sure this would get me a copyright strike.
Golden brown, texture like sun, lays me down. With my mind she runs throughout the night. No need to fight, never frown. With golden brown.
So as you can see, that's now playing at the correct speed. It's playing quite nicely actually. And that is playing with a modern, can you see that? That is one of my modern cheap Chinese cartridges there. With it's got a sapphire stylus on it, so it's not too bad. And for a player like this, if you can get them to work, they're actually not bad at all to use with them. The only disadvantage really, apart from the aesthetics, is the fact that to play a 78, well, they will play a 78, in fact I'll demonstrate that. You can play a 78 just as it is. So we've got the 78 here. I'll put that over onto 78, start the player, and you'll see, it will play a 78.
Where do you come from? Where do you go?
This is a very, very boring 78, I will say that. And this is probably played on one of my wind-up gramophones quite a few times.
So fast, so slow. Whirly, whirly, wheel of the wheat, enchanted sky, sunlight seas, whirlwind. Never daring, with earth and sky, you're oversharing. Oh, that man just like me is just to roam at will, so free.
That's just literally just to show you that it will play a 78 with that cartridge and stylus fitted. So they're only really designed for 33 and 45 RPM then. But what you can actually get a 78 stylus to fit that cartridge. They're quite expensive though. They're about £8 to £9. As where the stylus and the stylus that I've actually got fitted, that 33, 45 RPM stylus that's fitted to this. Replacements for that are about £3. That's with the sapphire stylus. They do a, I think they do an even cheaper one, which I wouldn't recommend. These are okay. These actually play quite nicely. I don't know how long the sapphires will last on them, but they do actually, like I said, they work quite nicely. So they're about £3 each. The actual to replace the stylus. You can get an even cheaper version, which is like £1.50 or 99p. Don't bother with them. They've got absolutely no compliance on them, and they'll ruin your stereo records. You can tell the difference actually, because the better quality ones, if you look down at the bottom there, I'll show you actually on one of my spares. Let's get one of my spare ones out and I'll show you. If you look, basically over there where the stylus fits onto the red, you see that bit of black plastic, that black rubber there, it actually moves like that. That's on the better quality versions of these stylus. On the really cheap versions of this stylus, basically that whole metal arm there is plastic, and it's just basically the plastic's pinched there, so it's slightly flexible, and they are pretty crap then. These ones, however, like I said, they're only about £3 each for a replacement stylus, and the cartridges themselves are only about £5. So they aren't a bad price, and they're a good choice for the cheaper of the record players. Like I said, I couldn't really justify a £30 plus cartridge for a record player like this. I mean, it's a nice little record player, but I tend to save them for, like I said, the hackers and the damn sets, and if people want to pay that kind of money. Otherwise, I use these cheap Chinese cartridges like this, and like I said, they do have a fairly good account of themselves. They don't give as much output as the older cartridges. That's one issue. It's better. They're better for transistorized amplifiers like this, because it doesn't take too much just to slightly modify the circuit to get a little bit more gain out of it, to allow it to drive one of these, be driven, sorry, by one of these slightly lower output cartridges. This one, I've not modified the amplifier at all in it. I do still need to get rid of that buzz, obviously, which is a bit of a grounding issue. We'll sort that out in the next video, though. But I mean, actual output wise, let's stick one last record on. What have we got here? Thunder and Lightning, Deaf School. Something ancient. Like I said, output wise, it's actually got plenty of output for this little transistor. Let's have it at the right speed. 20 volume there. Certainly enough for a reasonable sized room anyway. Anyway, you'd use a player like this. Shut that off. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Anyway, like I said, this video was just to show that I have sorted out the little speed issue that we had on the record player. So the next video, basically, we're going to be finishing this record player off. We'll sort that little grounding issue out. We'll do the earthing inside the record player to make sure it's all nice and safe. We'll replace all the trim that we've removed off it, and basically get it all finished and ready for a new owner. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Like I said, this was just a quick little update video, show you that we've actually sorted the speed issue out. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.